12 police officers were injured and 16 arrests were made in the second night of unrest in Northern Ireland following the Belfast knife attack on Monday. Protesters threw bottles and bricks at police while water cannons were deployed against demonstrators.
This was the Sandyknowes roundabout in Newtonabbey last night, one of the main arteries entering North Belfast. Crowds gathered as police were pelted with bottles, bricks and petrol bombs. Water cannons were used against demonstrators. A large vehicle and bins were left in flames. 12 police officers were injured and 16 arrests were made following last night's unrest. Police have condemned threats and intimidation experienced by healthcare workers.
Tonight we'll be increasing our patrols of key areas. I've been talking to colleagues within health trusts and others to hear their concerns about their staff welfare. They're the backbone of our public service. They're caring for our families, our friends and our loved ones.
In a statement, the family of victim Stephen Ogilvie said much false information was circulating on social media, forcing them to clarify he is in a stable condition. They said they felt disgusted by the disorder and do not want the tragedy to be used to divide people or fuel hostility. The man who helped save Stephen Ogilvie's life said he doesn't consider himself a hero.
It's normal for what I feel somebody should do if they see someone in need of help. I don't think that's heroic. That's just what someone's reaction should be. We'll assist those in danger. I think that's it. Now, it's nice to be called a hero. I just don't consider myself one.
Well, our thoughts are obviously with the victim and his family, but also on what the family has subsequently said, which is they have called for no violence as a response to what happened. We've seen violence in the last few days. It's shocking, it's just damaging and self-destructive.
People on the streets gave their reaction this morning to the events of recent days.
I think it's ridiculous, the whole thing. It's bringing us back to the old days, you know what I mean, with families and people getting burnt out. It's an absolute disgrace.
It's all localised in a couple of areas and we just need to stay out of those areas, that's all.
I feel like the English people and Northern Irish people have been neglected a good bit. Definitely, they have been neglected.
It's not just ethnic minorities who have had to leave their homes.
We all had to leave. I've seen riots and maybe protests in the past, but nothing to this extent.
After 2 nights of disorder, political leaders are again urging calm.
To all of those people out there from the black and ethnic minority community is that this is your home. You are welcome. We are an inclusive society. We are a good people. Those people that are out on our streets, that are attacking people in their homes, that are involved in criminality, thuggery, racism, do not reflect our society.
Police have said people involved in violence will be taken to task.
Well, Shane is standing by in Belfast for us at the moment. Shane, what's the situation there this evening?
Vivian, there have been no major reports of disorder so far this evening. However, in respect of public transport across Northern Ireland, services are operating as normal, with the caveat of here in Belfast, bus and glider services stopped at 5:30 this evening. But you can see behind me that thoroughfare was usually full of buses. No buses moving this evening. The last train will be leaving Belfast at 8 p.m. tonight. But across Northern Ireland, services are resuming more or less as normal. In terms of police operations, we heard the threats and intimidations faced by healthcare workers. Police said there will be an increased presence at healthcare settings, and we heard during the day about a healthcare worker who was followed by 4 masked men. That has been widely condemned throughout today. We also heard that police will be focusing on areas that may be susceptible to riots and demonstrations based on information that has been shared online. Police were talking about the difficulty to ascertain whether that information was accurate, and online platforms came in for a lot of criticism throughout the day. The police have also activated what's called Operation Up, where they are publishing images of people they believe who have been involved in the riots, and they are seeking the assistance of the public in identifying those individuals. They adopted a similar approach following the Ballymena riots last year, and that led to about 100 prosecutions. In terms of demonstrations this evening, the Alliance Party were asked at a press event at Stormont earlier whether there may be the head of protests at their offices, and again, because of the uncertainty over the accuracy of information online, they couldn't ascertain the accuracy of that. But Vivian, at the moment, it's quiet in Belfast this evening.
Shane, thank you.
Well, the Taoiseach has defended the common travel area after concerns were raised about it in the aftermath of Monday's knife attack in Belfast. Micheál Martin said that it needs to be managed as people will endeavour to abuse it, but also that strong cooperation is needed between the British and Irish governments. It comes as the UK intends to step up immigration checks to detect illegal immigrants. Our reporter Karen Creed takes a look now at the background to the common travel area amid this tension over immigration.
What is the Common Travel Area? Well, it's a long-standing agreement between the Irish and British governments dating back to 1922. It allows free movement of Irish and British citizens between the UK, Ireland, the Isle of Man and the Channel Islands without passport checks, but does not extend to non-Irish and non-UK citizens. So how is it enforced? Well, it operates with minimal border controls, allowing for easy passage between the two jurisdictions without undergoing formal immigration checks. This includes travel across the border between the Republic and Northern Ireland. Gardaí and the PSNI have been working together to monitor and detect illegal immigration. So if someone is found without the right documents, they can be detained under UK immigration law and returned to the Republic of Ireland. A reciprocal arrangement is in place, so people can't evade or obstruct the immigration controls and processes of the other country. Now, much of the political focus is on this open border. The Justice Minister here has warned that an overwhelming majority of people who are seeking international protection and claiming asylum here are arriving from the UK, crossing the border from Northern Ireland. The estimated figure is above 80% for several years. There's little available data showing exactly how many people are claiming asylum in Northern Ireland, having arrived via the Common Travel Area. UK government data shows that close to 8,000 people arrived in the UK and claimed asylum through other routes, which include the Common Travel Area. The Home Office has said that it returned just one migrant to Ireland after crossing the border last year.
Well, for more on all this, let's speak to our political correspondent Barry Lenihan, who joins us now from Leinster House. Barry, as we heard there, the Taoiseach Micheál Martin has been defending the common travel area because it's come under scrutiny as a result of what happened on Monday.
And at the start of the day, Sharon, the coalition seemed in a tricky position after those briefings from sources in Whitehall that the British government was to intensify its efforts to detain and arrest illegal immigrants in Northern Ireland, including intelligence-led operations targeted at those travelling through the Common Travel Area. The question being, what might that mean for the invisible border on the island of Ireland? Now, the coalition throughout the day trying to impress that it has made improvements in the area of immigration. More details of Jim O'Callaghan's engagement with the North's Justice Minister Naomi Long and the Northern Ireland Secretary of State Hilary Benn. Mr O'Callaghan said to have told them that there has been improvements at border operations at Dublin Airport and the number of people arriving on the island of Ireland without documentation has reduced significantly since 2023. Well, how has that message been received? Well, within the last hour, the leaders of the political parties in Northern Ireland have emerged from a meeting with Hilary Benn. Gavin Robinson, again critical. The Northern Ireland First Minister Michelle O'Neill saying that was predictable, but critically Hilary Benn saying that the idea that he must work with the Irish authorities and policing the Common Travel Area to prevent abuse was a joint endeavour between Britain and Ireland. So perhaps different rhetoric there. And here's some of what the Taoiseach had to say earlier.
Remember that the Common Travel Area is there for a long, long time, and it's been a very positive experience for Irish and British people, respectively, and we need to manage it. People will endeavour to abuse it, and that's where I think the coordination and cooperation between the two governments matters most.
Now, the Taoiseach is due to speak to the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer over the phone, perhaps as soon as tomorrow. This was a scheduled call anyway, but they will discuss events in Belfast. The coalition has also faced opposition questions over the migration issue, those questions likely to increase amid unease over Ireland signing into the EU Migration Pact, which comes into force from midnight.
Barry Lenihan from Leinster House, thank you for that.
Now let's go back to events in Belfast, and we're joined by the Leader of the Opposition in the Northern Ireland Assembly, SDLP Leader MLA Matthew O'Toole. Matthew O'Toole, thanks for joining us on 6-1. You've already had 2 nights of unrest, 2 nights of violence in Belfast. Are you expecting a third tonight?
Well, obviously sincerely hope not, and I think every right-thinking person in Belfast, the north, and well, the whole island doesn't want another night of trouble in Belfast. There are some rumours, reports, suggestions of people planning to gather in certain locations. I hope that doesn't happen, and if it does happen, I hope there isn't trouble, or trouble is dealt with quickly by the police. What's happened in the last couple of nights in Belfast, last night, but particularly Tuesday night, were appalling. They were frankly nothing short of an attempted pogrom in parts of Belfast. It was unadulterated race hate coming after a shocking, grotesque act of violence that so many of us unfortunately saw on our phones. But that reaction was utterly unacceptable. Not just unacceptable, it was chilling and frankly grotesque, and it has to be called out for what it was.
I want to ask you about what you experienced on those nights. You had to help people to flee their homes and find a safe place. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, on Tuesday night, a colleague of mine, Councillor Donal Lyons, in South Belfast, contacted me. He had come across an incident in a part of the city where some families, South Asian backgrounds, but here legally, working hard, contributing with children, had been evacuated, put out effectively of their apartment building because it had been set alight. We had to find them shelter, so that we brought them to shelter, and we had to find them more shelter. So then we had to drive in convoy to a council-run location where they spent the night. Now, I think sometimes people see things in the abstract, like images on TV or their phones of buses being burnt or houses being burnt out, and it can seem shocking but kind of abstract. The reality of having, in my case, children, a baby, a 1-year-old baby who didn't have nappies or feeding equipment, an 8-year-old who wanted to know whether he was going to school the next day, kids who were put out of their homes with their parents simply because of the colour of their skin, brings home the gravity of what happened in Belfast. And the truth is, it can happen elsewhere on these islands, because the people who are orchestrating this, yes, it's being orchestrated here. Yes, this is being executed, as it were, by people, and we can come on to that, people here in Belfast, but much of it is being fomented and stirred up by bad actors online, including, it has to be said, the richest person in the world.
Now, all of this has led to questions about the common travel area. You made a comment that some politicians are recreationally talking about the common travel area, and it's been called into question. What did you mean by that?
Well, I think it's clear that the DUP, for example, at a time when there should be a commonality of purpose among political parties in Northern Ireland in particular around responding to the race hate on the streets, yes, acknowledging the very real concern and the shocking images that came out, the shocking, brutal attempted murder on Sunday night. Of course, we need to understand how that happened. And yes, public concern around that needs to be addressed constructively. But we also need to come together around the campaign of race hate that happened. What the DUP have done is immediately conflate this question, the question of the individual who appears to have committed an appalling attempted murder, with the common travel area and the open border on the island of Ireland. Let's be absolutely clear, that open border cannot be brought into question. That border is hugely important for this island, economically, culturally, societally, in every possible way. Of course, we can always work harder, and of course, we need to look at how immigration systems can work better together. But the individual in question, it wasn't the fact that he was able to travel across the border that in a sense created his status. It was the fact that the UK immigration system gave him leave to remain when he was in the north. So we cannot allow the Overton window to be shifted and people to start questioning the ability of people to move across this island freely. It is absolutely sacrosanct. We spent years working to keep that border open for the movement of goods during the Brexit process. We should not now sacrifice the idea of people moving freely across the island, and it is idiotic, frankly, for unionist politicians to start indulging that kind of stuff from British politicians, because it will only lead in one direction for the hard right in Britain,
Matthew O'Toole, sorry to cut across you there.
NRC.
Thanks for joining us on 6-1.